All right. Welcome back to your podcast, our podcast, the Popular Side podcast. As always, he's Yinka Yusuf,
Good evening.
and I'm Akin Adike. Yinka, today is
Yes, boss.
Sunday, the 7th of July. We've
Of
been gone
July.
for 2 weeks, but not because we actually went anywhere, but because we recorded a whole episode last week and lost it. How does that happen,
Yeah.
Yinka?
So that tells you we are still at the mercy of technology. We thought we did good work until we found out the next morning that it was all garbage and we couldn't publish it. We tried to salvage it, we couldn't. We just said, you know what, it is what it is. We're not gonna
Yeah.
give the people, substandard content. So we scrapped it and we decided to push everything to this week.
We're sorry we didn't put out new content last week, but we'll try to make up for it this week, right? So
Definitely we will. Definitely
all
we
right.
will.
Over the
Yeah.
past 2 weeks, so 2 weeks ago, you remember I spent in Calgary. I was, out with the family, visiting family, working, and trying to juggle everything. And then this week, I had family visiting us. It was, the July 4th holiday here, Independence Day in the U.S. And at work, we got the 5th off as well, Friday. So, it was good. Spend time with family. So it's been 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks of family. So it's been great. What about you?
Yeah, that's cool. So a lot of work. One, and then two. My youngest finished primary school, so his graduation was it Tuesday or Wednesday? So I'm done with primary school and stuff. Thank you very much, bro.
Congrats.
And yeah, it's been work, more of work though. But something happened earlier on today. Our team played in a friendly tournament in Lorin, Kwara State called Amapro, and they won. So in honor of them, that's why I'm wearing our new fit for this season. So congrats to Abri Sports. You guys did a fantastic job. And so that's back to back. We won the same tournament last year. We won it again this year. Congrats to the chairman and the team. Job well done, guys.
Where is mine? Where is my jersey? Where is my fit?
Don't worry, yours is with me. When next I see someone coming to the US, or when next you come to Nigeria, I'll get it across to you. I'm
just
serious.
saw me, sir.
There's one.
You just
There's
saw me a
one.
month ago.
There's
Stop
one. It just took a while for us to get the
Okay.
extras out. No. It wasn't ready a month ago.
Okay.
It wasn't ready a month ago.
All right.
But don't worry. I'll get yours.
I believe
I'll
you.
get yours.
I believe you. So I was saying, let us hope and keep everything crossed that we have a good tech problem-free episode today. So we're going to get through everything quickly. We have a lot to talk about. It's 2 weeks worth of material. So, but let's get into it. So first, we're going to talk about the Euros. We have semifinalists now. So we'll talk about how they got through the round of 16 and the quarterfinals. And then we'll talk about the Copa America. There was no round of 16 in the Copa, just the quarterfinals. And then since we've been gone, we've had the NBA draft, which was interesting. We continue to have interesting transfers in Europe. There was a little known deadline, the PSR deadline. The PSR deadline from June 30th, which saw a flurry. Yeah, saw a flurry of activity. So we'll talk about that. And then I think we should check in on the WNBA All Star Voting is going on right now with some very interesting figures. So yeah, that's the lineup for today. Let's start with the Euros. So we have our semifinalists. It's gonna be England and the Netherlands going up against each other, and then France and Spain going up against each other. So I think we should start with the France-Spain matchup and how they got there. Okay, and how they got there was what? Spain in the quarterfinals Spain beat Germany, the hosts, but it ended up being 2-1. A late goal, in extra time. Great header, almost at the death in extra time. So it didn't go into PKs. So let's talk about that. Your take on Spain, your take on Germany, and then what do we think about France on the other side of the bracket?
So what I will start with is how both of them got to the quarterfinals. So Spain beat Georgia in the round of 16, 4-1. I think that scoreline kind of flattered Spain. I think it was a lot closer than the scoreline would suggest. Spain, Georgia gave them a run for their money. Georgia scored first. Spain then equalized through Rodri, and the second half, I think they were just too strong for the Georgian team. But I think Georgia, once again, they proved that they are a very, very decent side. Kvaratskhelia and McTaude were very, very solid in attack, and the rest of the team just played to their positions. They knew what they needed to do, and they did it very well. But Spain was too strong for them. On the other hand, Germany played Denmark. The ref was an English ref, and I think the guy messed the game up a bit, in my opinion, if you ask me. There were some, funny offside calls, some goals that were cancelled that you wondered why they were cancelled. But ultimately, Germany, they're too strong for Denmark, and they came through. But in the Spain-Germany game itself, the game was very cagey. I think, or what I saw, was two coaches that knew what they were doing, and they were trying to counter each other. And for the better part of the game, for the first half, it was like jabs, like a boxing match. They're just jabbing each other. Then came the second half. Germany lost concentration for a twinkle of a second, and Danny almost scored. I think that just opened up the game, and the game came to life after Danny almost scored. Then Germany equalized towards the death. We thought they were going to just go ahead and take it, but unfortunately, then Merino from Sociedad, who was formerly at Newcastle, came up with the header and scored. My takeaway from that game, I know there are plenty of things to talk about, but the number one thing for me, maybe being an Arsenal fan and me looking at Kai Havertz, is the fact that your finishing at that level can be that poor, right? He had so many clear-cut chances, right, that I thought he could have scored a hat-trick easily in that match. Easily against Spain. Easily. But there was no conviction in his shooting. You have to be maniacal about scoring goals. Yeah, you might have the movement of Inzaghi, but his finishing is like that of Yaya Sanogo. It was atrocious. It was very, 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 very bad. And I thought he cost Germany the match, more or less. And when his substitute or his deputy came on board to Fulkrug too didn't do anything spectacular. The two of them decided to just be horrible with finishing on the day. And the Spaniards, like you said, give them a chance, they'll take it. It was like the Spaniard came in with a B team in the second half, and even in injury time, and that B team propelled them to the win. Everybody was worried when they took out the wingers, when they took out the two young boys, Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. But I was telling someone that was watching, I said, see, if not for this tournament, right, the starting lineup for Spain was Oyarzabal and Ferran Torres, and Dani Olmo.
Torres has scored a hat trick the last time he played against Germany. Torres got a hat trick. So.
Yes, he scored a hat trick. So the Spain used their bench solidly, and it paid off for them at the end of the day. But I feel bad for Germany. I don't know whoever did the draws, that they put all the strong team on one side and put all the crap team on the other side, including England. I don't know how that happened
Yeah.
because it would have been better if it was more evenly spread. Because I look at the other side of the draw and I'm seeing Netherlands, Turkey, Switzerland, England. Come on, it's
Yeah.
bad that Spain, Germany are meeting in
So
the quarterfinals. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think it was all the organizers' fault. I think some of it had to do with France. I think France did not win their group, right? France didn't win their group.
Did they win the group?
They didn't.
I think they
They
didn't. They
didn't.
came second. Austria won the group.
Okay, to Austria. That was a big move that messed up the brackets, right? So
Yeah.
that was one. So if you think about it, Austria faced Turkey on the other side. That would have been France if France had won the group, right? So France would have been playing Turkey on the other side of the bracket, right? And
Yeah.
then if they had won, they would have faced the Netherlands, right? And then if they had won that, they would be facing England right now, right? So France messed things up, so to speak, right? So that
Yeah.
was a big thing
I
that
agree with you. And
happened
also Italy,
by France not winning.
Italy not coming out of their group also. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And so there was a few things that happened. But again, it just so happened that on one side, a bunch of unfancy teams showed up, all on one side of the bracket. So that was interesting.
So that was the Spain Germany game. The second game in the quarterfinals was Portugal France. Akin, maybe you take that. What was your take on?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say one quick thing about Spain Germany. Nagelsmann decided to go into that game in the first half to bully Spain, and the English referee let him get away with it. So for one half, they were just hacking Spain down, right? And that resulted in Rodri getting injured in the 7th minute. Pedri, not Rodri, my bad. Pedri. So that should have been a yellow card for Toni Kroos. He escaped. Remember, Yinka, I told you 2 things that bother me the most about football. Early fouls not being called as fouls. Fouls in the box not being called penalties. I can't take it. It just drives me nuts. If you try to break someone's leg in the 90th second of the game, that's a yellow or a red. You know what I mean? Don't do it if you don't want the card. So, Toni Kroos, who is not a hack, he knows how to tackle, but he went after this guy. That was a yellow. And then he got a yellow late in the game. The fact that it was still in the game up until that point was a disgrace. But anyway, so that I just wanted to say that about Germany, Spain. Portugal versus France was a disgrace. Okay? It was a disgrace. Let me start with the absolute disgrace of it. Mbappe disgraced all of us who support him, who love him, right? So, he wears a mask to protect his broken nose. And then he got the ball hit him on the side of his face. And then he immediately went down, covering his nose, all of that. And I believed that he had a concussion. I believed the nose wasn't healed and he shouldn't have played. And in my mind, this man is soldiering on. What a guy, right? What a guy. He's soldiering on. And then they get to halftime of extra time, and I see him handing over his armband, the captain's armband, to Deschamps, the coach. So I'm like, man, he gave it everything he could. He can't do it anymore. Man, what a guy. And then we find out later, this man said, well, I told the coach I wasn't feeling it, just not feeling it anymore, and he should take me out. And I lost all respect for him. And it's funny because on one of my friend threads, there were 2 guys who were saying, Mbappe, they were saying pretty much Mbappe gave up. And I'm like, the man has a concussion. He probably should not be playing. And then Mbappe came out and was like, yeah, I gave up. So that was such a disgrace. But now it's all making sense. All the shenanigans he's been through, all the stuff he's been doing. It's almost like he cares more about what the game can give him than he cares about the game, which is very disappointing from my point of view. So that was one thing. So the game itself, Yinka, I said something on our friend group. Um, if you have a golden generation, I saw this on Twitter. If you have a golden generation, do not hire Roberto Martinez. Okay? He will, because what he's doing with Ronaldo and Portugal now, he did with Eden Hazard and Belgium at the World Cup. Eden Hazard, neither of us even remembered he was still playing. Okay? He was so out of shape, so out of conditioning. And, this man gave him the captain's armband. He didn't do anything with it. They crashed out. And now with Ronaldo, I'm like, before you took the job, one, you signed a 4-year contract. What do you care? Ronaldo will not be playing at 44. You have the upper hand here. Ronaldo has been in Saudi for 2 seasons. Your predecessor, Santos, was easing him out by the end of the World Cup, by the end of their run at the World Cup, was already easing him out. Casual fans, Portugal teammates were already getting used to not playing with Ronaldo, not seeing Ronaldo. Yep. Yes, he came in and scored a bunch of goals against the Faroe Islands, and you qualified for Euros. Good for you, but you didn't have to start him. And then when I saw Bruno being withdrawn and Ronaldo still on the pitch, I'm like, what are we doing? When I saw Leao being withdrawn and Ronaldo being on the pitch, I'm like, what is going on, right? And then the last one, of all the people you could bring in, you bring in, Yinka, what's the name of the kid who changes clubs like Morata every year? Every year he changes clubs. You know who I'm talking about.
Whose kid is that? I mean,
the Portuguese kid, man. He came in towards the end of the game.
Oh, João Felix.
Thank you. João Felix.
João Felix.
I'm like, for what? What is he going to do? Yeah, what's João Felix going to do for you? He's not going to do anything for you, And then he ends up missing a penalty kick. I'm just like, Roberto Martinez, what are you doing? Like, you're not in Wigan anymore. Stop this nonsense. But anyway, France were undeserved winners. I wish both teams could have lost. It was a disgrace. But the penalties were fine. France played some good penalties without Mbappe. And they went through.
So Akin, very quick one on Kylian. If you want to call this unpopular, maybe you can call it unpopular. But I'm worried about Kylian, and I hope he doesn't go down the Eden Hazard route when he gets to Madrid. Akin, it's not the nose break. It's not the whatever. His finishing and his play in this tournament has been atrocious. It has been a disaster. His finishing in particular. And I'm like, this guy looks a complete shadow of himself. And he's getting into that vicious cycle where he just wants to be like, I'm not playing well. I need to play well. I need to be the glory guy. And he's not playing with this team anymore. He's playing the game all by himself. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, The Spanish league is a level ahead of the French league. You will be found out if you don't give it your best. I hope the money, the fame, what other word can we use? I hope it hasn't gotten to him. Because just like you said, when he came out and he told Deschamps, or we heard what he told Deschamps, number one, you didn't need to tell everybody that to start with. It could have been a discussion between yourself and your coach, and it could have ended there. Yeah? That's one. Two, you're the captain, and you abandoned ship when it wasn't looking good for you, or you didn't want to play penalties, you didn't want to be part of the people that will take the spot kick or what? Come on, man. I'm very disappointed in Mbappe and in general the French national team. The reason why France is in the semis right now is because of N'Golo Kante and their back four. Okay, and their back five. Let me add the goalkeeper to it. Yeah? Saliba and Upamecano. Saliba in particular. Saliba has been fantastic. Saliba has been very solid. Kante team of the tournament automatically. Saliba, team of the tournament automatically. Yeah, that's the reason why Spain are why France is in the semis right now. Right now, my question is, can they do the same thing against Spain and get away with it? I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. Yeah, do they have the talent to get the better of Spain? Yes, they do. If they bring their A game, yes, they can beat Spain. But with the way they're currently playing, that front line is dead. Mbappe, Thuram, Griezmann, Dembele, they're not playing well at all. They're not creating chances. They've not scored a goal, not an own goal. They've not scored their own goal in open play in this tournament. And you're saying for a French national team, it's crazy. Anyway, the Portuguese, on the other hand, I 1,000% agree with you. 1,000% agree with you. Roberto Martinez needs to be flogged. Yeah, he needs to be flogged. I don't know the obsession with Ronaldo. Played even the third game of the group games that didn't really matter. He came, he wore the armband, and he was there to play. I'm like, who does this? Why didn't you play Gonzalo Ramos at that point? Play a younger guy. But unfortunately, they didn't do that. I think deservedly, they are out of the tournament. Yeah, I hope France could have gone along with them.
Yeah, it's good riddance.
But unfortunately, good riddance to two of them.
Me too.
Let's move forward to the next game.
Me too.
So that's the England-Switzerland game. Akim.
Yeah, so it was Switzerland versus England. All right, so Yinka, I think I was telling you this because like I said, I had family in town. We went out to lunch. So I saw like the first couple minutes of the first half, and then I checked back in the second half. So last night, after you and I talked, I decided to watch the whole game all over again. So I watched the full game last night, stayed up and did that all the way to the penalties and stuff. And I'm like, Yinka, I do not understand the change of system. So I'm like, the only personnel that the England coach Southgate wanted to play but wasn't available was Mark Gay. This is a guy you just called into camp 2 days ago, right? You didn't even want him. You wanted what's the name of the Man U guy? Maguire. Maguire is who you really wanted. And then all of a sudden you move away from Maguire, you bring in Gay. Gay is nice, but is not like an irreplaceable guy. So it's not the kind of guy that when he's suspended, I change my entire system. And I'm like, Yinka, we may know 5,000 people that could do this job better than Southgate, just between the two of us, like personally.
I agree.
We may know 5,000 people that can make better decisions for this football team. So, and what are we talking about, people? I'm looking at, when I jumped into the second half, I didn't say the first. I'm looking at Saka, and I'm seeing him is really advanced on the right side. So I'm commenting to Yinka. I'm like, oh, I thought they reported that Saka was gonna be a right wing back, and Yinka was like, he is. And I'm like, really? And then I watched the full game. I'm like, yeah, they played this guy at right wing back. They had a 32-year-old Walker running all across the back line. Because they're playing three at the back, and then sometimes Rice is dropping into in between the two center backs, and it's all so crazy to me. And I'm like, just bring in one guy to replace Gay. This is not hard, and do what you were doing before. You know what I mean? I'm like, what they really needed, Yinka, was the one person that has not performed at all is the captain, Harry Kane. What they needed was to bench Harry Kane and play Watkins, right? Because the lack of dynamism from the number 9 position was killing them, right? You and I, if someone had asked us before this tournament, what do we think Jude Bellingham would do with respect to Harry Kane? You and I would have said, oh, when Harry Kane drops, Bellingham would occupy that 9 position. He didn't do it. He was running around aimlessly, since the first game, he hasn't really had a good game. Someone said the game where he scored the scissors kick. Someone said it was a 2 out of 10 before the kick. So.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, this guy Tim Stillman was saying that they miss other people that used to be on the team, including Sterling, who would occupy those positions. Foden doesn't do it. Bellingham doesn't do it. So I'm like, play Watkins. Watkins can drift left, and be effective. Right, be effective. Drop, be effective. Stay in the 9 position and be effective. Is not as tall as Harry Kane, but he's really good with his head. So, but I think it's just a lack of trust from Southgate. He plays the guys he trusts, and I don't get it. But let's talk about Switzerland. Kudos to them. I think they played to the best of their ability. I'm not sure they were now the better team, to be honest. I think England actually played a little better than England had been playing. But England versus Switzerland, I'm not sure England were better on the day. I'm not sure they were better. But Xhaka had one of his just regular games. It wasn't fantastic. And I think they needed him to be fantastic. And I think you could see that effect. When he's not really, really going, the team drops with him. Akanji was great, but he missed a penalty. He really marshaled that defense. It was really amazing. England could have used him on the day. Summer was really good. Our commentator here was describing his wingspan. I didn't realize how long his wingspan was relative to his height. Summer was really good. But overall, Rodriguez did well. Overall, I think England exercised their penalty demons. They played 5 absolutely beautiful penalties. None of them was even particularly close. All of them were fantastic. They scored all 5. These guys, deserve a lot of kudos. And Akanji played a okay penalty, and Pickford saved it, and that kind of set the tone. So that's my take. What do you think?
So, okay. Let me be careful the way I phrase or I coin the things I'm about to say. Yeah. So that I won't seem as if I am a hater. But the problem with the English team is not only Harry Kane. And when I say this, you tell me I'm a hater. The number one problem with the English team is Phil Foden. This is your best player in England, quote and unquote. Yes or no? This is the guy that you decided to put Saka at right.
Awards.
Come on, man. This is the guy that you decided to put Saka at right wing back to accommodate him. Yeah? And this same guy, tell me any particular phase of play that Foden was involved in that led into something, positive for England. He looks lost. He looks lost. Himself and Harry Kane, they both look lost. Harry Kane, I get. Harry Kane, I told you, Harry Kane has been spoilt by Bayern Munich. The Harry Kane that used to play for Spurs and used to play for England, that will come back, get involved with play, do some tiki-taka, then pass the ball to Son. That Harry Kane is gone. When he went to Bayern, it became a situation where he was being fed on a platter, right, for him to score. So Harry Kane is no longer the Harry Kane that he used to be. But Southgate can't see this. We can see this. Foden is not the same without his surrounding, constituency, if I can put it that way. Without Rodri, without Bernardo Silva, Foden is just an ordinary player. But you can't say the same for the other people that are keeping this team afloat. I'm sorry. England's best player in this tournament is arguably between Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka. I'm not saying this because I'm an Arsenal fan. That is the obvious truth. Bellingham, take away the goals from Bellingham. He's had a poor tournament. A very, very, very poor tournament.
His first game was really good. Yinka, his first game was really good. Was really, really good. His first match.
Okay.
Bellingham was really good.
If you say so. If you say so. If you say so.
You did
Now,
say
hear me
so
out.
yourself. You yourself said so.
So now hear me out. So
Okay, go for it.
you've provided a solution for them, saying Harry Kane can probably maybe come into the middle, or they should remove Harry Kane and put what's his name,
Watkins.
Ollie Watkins.
Not Tony.
Yeah,
not Tony. Tony should not be on
not
that
even
team.
Tony.
Tony will be a bad idea. Bad idea. But go on. Yeah.
Can I take it a step further, right? Or if you don't want to do Watkins, just let Bellingham play the false nine.
False nine, absolutely.
Let him play false nine. So the team is a bit more dynamic. There is that dynamism. They can play around with the ball. But right now, everything just looks stiff. It looks stiff. And Southgate, the number of formations they played in that match only is like 10 different formations in one match. I mean, I'm disappointed in Southgate. Well, I didn't expect anything better anyway. I'm serious, I didn't. But what really brought joy to my heart, that made me really happy, was the penalty shootout. Yeah? I'm so happy. I'm going to say it. I'm happy for the Black boys. Yes, I said it. Because if any of them had lost, oh God. If any of them had lost their spot kick, Akin, it would have been bloodbath in the papers in the UK this morning. And who would you say is the man of the match yesterday was Bukayo Saka? You will not see his picture in any of the dailies this morning. It was given to
Bukayo. It was given.
But on the newspapers, Akin, you couldn't see anything that relates. My point, exactly.
It was a group picture. But Yinka, what did I say?
My point, exactly.
It's so funny because I'm texting in our group and I'm texting in my other group, right? And one of my boys said the exact same thing I said at almost the exact time. He was like, they are going to use someone else's picture tomorrow. And I was saying the same thing in our group, that they're going to use the same thing. They're going to use someone else's picture tomorrow. And what would you know? I'm watching Talk Sports, and they displayed it, and Bukayo was nowhere to be found. But this time, at least they didn't put Harry Kane's picture. What?
Nowhere to be found. And he saved their behinds.
But they put a group.
He saved their behinds. Anyway,
it's amazing.
You know the way we say, like one of our friends will say, "On rakpala," they will continue to rakpala until they get to the final at this rate. Because they're playing the Netherlands, who, in my opinion, were lucky against Turkey, right? I thought Turkey were the better side. They were just inexperienced, and they didn't know how to manage the game properly. Turkey should have won that game. They should have won that game. Yeah? But kudos to Netherlands. They did well. They weathered the storm, the Turkish storm at the beginning of the game. They came back stronger. I'll give them the kudos. And Gakpo is playing fine, and they have a big squad which they are using effectively. But frankly, I think they will give England a good run for their money, and they can actually bounce England. So if you ask me right now, and maybe this is a good segue to us predicting, who do you think is going to make it to the next to the finals?
Yeah. So let me start with France versus Spain. I need Spain to beat up on France really, really badly. I don't want France like you said, France hasn't scored a goal in open play. France has played 5 matches now. They've scored 3 goals. 2 of them have been own goals. 1 has been a penalty. All of us said they had the most talented squad. I don't know what we were drinking. What talent? What were we seeing? Because I'm like, okay, so that entire attacking department, let's just say, they look terrible, Yinka. So number 1, I loved Lilian Thuram. He's a legend. His son doesn't fit on that team. I'm sorry. He might look better on someone else's team. And Didier Deschamps loves him because Didier played with his father. But Marcus Thuram does not fit on that team. stylistically, it doesn't belong. It's not a number 9. It's not a left-sided forward. It's not a right-sided forward. It's a guy that plays forward. And not with particular distinction. You know what I mean? It's not crazy athletic. It's big without playing big. I've never seen a player like him before. It really doesn't belong on this team. And guess who found that out? Didier Deschamps. Didier didn't start him this past game. He didn't start. He started Colomwani instead.
Yeah.
You know? Because, you know what I mean? So I'm like, if Deschamps had not played with Thuram's father, I don't think Thuram is even in the 23 or 20. He brought 25 players. You can bring 26, but he only brought 25. Deschamps is a little crazy. We all know that. You know? I'm like, why would you not bring as many players as you can? I've never seen anything like it before. He left one spot open for no good reason. So Thuram, I'm not saying Thuram is the problem here, but is a symbol of how this man manages. I'm like, I don't get the point of this player. You know, it doesn't really occupy the defender. You know, it's not a great goal scorer, at least at international level. It doesn't do anything great. But I think what's really happened, honestly, between the World Cup and now, Mbappe is not the player he used to be. That's number one. Number two is Griezmann is not the player he used to be, because Griezmann was the glue that kept everything together. You know, and Griezmann is not his old self. You know, now Conte coming back to his old self has masked some of that, but you can't imagine if Conte was doing what he was doing, what he's doing now, and Griezmann also was at his World Cup, you know, or even last Euros level, France would look a lot better. So I hope Spain doesn't have a bad day. I would love for Spain to break out against France and put 3 past them. That's what I want to happen. What do I think will happen? I think it'll be like a 2-0 or 2-1 for Spain. On the England-Netherlands side, so I think Koeman is a better coach than Southgate. I think that's obvious.
And that says a lot.
England has better players.
Because Koeman himself is not really a good coach.
I know. So I think they actually have similar problems, right? Koeman has why am I forgetting players' names today? Yinka, what's going on with me? He has a Memphis Depay problem, right? Which is like Harry Kane and Southgate. Koeman has decided that Depay, who is not even a number 9, but he's decided, I'm going to play this guy centrally. The man doesn't score. Even in his prime, he wasn't a scorer. So I do not understand it. He doesn't really do the hold-up plaything. It's not as fast and quick as he used to be. It's twice the size he used to be. I don't understand it. Meanwhile, you have Weghorst, who is a mediocre to okay, proper old-school number 9. Again, it's like the Germany situation with Kai and Fulkrug. Play Weghorst. Every time he comes in, it's purposeful. It's a big target. You know, it puts panic in the minds of defenders. You know, it's not crazy skilled. This is who you have. Just go with what you have. Memphis Depay is not good enough to play on this team right now. Or play Gakpo as a false 9 and just call it a day. You know, these guys are overthinking everything. What should happen, Yinka, is the Netherlands should beat England like 3-0. But it won't happen. I think this would be another penalty kick situation. That's what should happen. If they had a decent coach, they should beat England by 3-0. They should. You know, because they actually have a really, really good bro. Van der Ven is on the bench. Van der Ven will start for England. There's like 4 central midfielders for the Netherlands. All of them will start for England. You know, and I think because Koeman is not a great coach, what is he doing? He's playing Ake, who could be a good left back, playing him as centre back when you have 2 great centre backs on the bench. Like, you know, you can tell I'm frustrated. I'm like, when people are not hitting their potential, it just gets to me. I don't understand it. But go on.
So, couple of things. Yeah, I agree with your take on what the finals will look like. I think it's going to be Spain, Netherlands. It's going to be a repeat of the South Africa World Cup final. And I think Spain will win it at this point. Unless something crazily unusual happens, right? It will be a major upset if Spain doesn't win this tournament. The only team that could have beaten them would have been Germany. Yeah. But let me quickly rewind back to your take on the Spanish national team and talent. So let me just read through, right, the Spanish, so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about in terms of the Spanish team. So their backline is Jules Koundé, Upamecano, Saliba, and Hernandez. The oldest out of all of these guys is Hernandez, who is 26 years old. You see where the talent is coming from? In midfield, they have Camavinga and Tchouaméni. Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Should I go ahead? See, that is where the talent is. And they've always relied on Griezmann and Mbappe and a sprinkle of Giroud from time to time, right? Now they're trying to integrate a Lilian Thuram in a tournament setting. Lilian Thuram has never played a tournament before for France. So he's sticking out like a sore thumb. He's like, where am I? Help me, guys. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
When he was at Inter, the guy played very well for Inter. You know, him and Lautaro Martinez had a fantastic season. But this is tournament football. I don't know. You see, there's a different type of edge and arrogance you need to have to be able to excel in this kind of tournament.
Yeah.
So I think France is probably investing in the future to say, out of all the strikers we have right now, Lilian is most likely to take over from Olivier Giroud. This is going to be Giroud's last tournament for France.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah? Yeah.
That's a good point.
So
good point.
I think it's an investment play. It's an investment play as against, this is my, and they thought, the brilliance of Kylian Mbappe will overshadow the jittery situation that Thuram finds himself in. But right now, Mbappe is a shadow of himself. Griezmann is a shadow of himself. Dembele at this point, I don't know. That is the most, what's the word that I can use to describe Ousmane Dembele? He is the most skilled underperformer that I have ever seen in my life.
Can I say something, Yinka, real quick? Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, Yinka, I was watching ESPN FC. Do you know, again, I'm forgetting people's names today. Something's going on with me. Bald French defender from the 98 team.
Leboeuf.
No, French defender. Leboeuf, thank you. Leboeuf. So he's talking, and he talks really fast, right, with his French accent. And it was like, Dembele is somebody we call what a PD player. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, because when you watch him, you go, oh, what a pity.
What a pity. In fact, I couldn't have said it better.
I'm sorry. I just had to say that. It's like, oh, what a pity.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So going back to your point on their talent, that's the talent. Camavinga in that game was on fire. It was on fire. Amazing. Camavinga, Kante, and William Saliba. That is the talent. Yeah. And if you go to their bench, they had Fofana on the bench. They had Bakola on the bench. They had Benjamin Pavard on the bench. They had Mendy on the bench from Real Madrid. They had Konate from Liverpool on the bench. They have Zaire Emery from PSG on the bench. They have Kingsley Coman from Bayern on the bench. Of course, they're talented, man. Deschamps is Southgate's shorter senior brother. You get what I mean? That's all I'm going to say.
Yinka, all right. So this is what I was thinking, right? I'm like, if you could elevate the coaching position, the manager position for France, what would they get out of this team? I'm glad you named all those guys, right? Because if they did what England did, which is just play wing backs, right? Between Pavard and Hernandez, you would get more production up top than what you're getting right now from, just a mishmash.
Koundé, yeah.
Not really wingers. It's just not working. Bruh, you know how much I love Saliba. Saliba has been fantastic, but I feel like Hernandez has been overshadowed a little bit. He has been amazing. Any right-sided forward that has played against him is stifled. And then he does it on the attacking side as well. So I think it's been really,
Yeah,
really, really, really good. And then I'm
very, very
like,
good.
if you
Very,
have
very good.
Kingsley Coman, why is he not in any game? Has he even played any minutes? I don't know if he's coming at all. I don't know. I don't think Coman is coming at
I'm
all.
not sure.
I'm like,
I don't think so.
it's
In fact, they bring
crazy.
Bakula ahead of Coman.
It's
And it's going
crazy.
back to your point.
So
Bakula is friends with Mbappe. So could that be Mbappe flexing his muscle again? Saying I'd rather play with this guy than that guy?
it could be.
Maybe.
In my opinion, England and France have had very similar type tournaments. Coaches not getting enough out of the sides, the team's not scoring goals, playing really, really boring ball. For me, they've been the hardest to watch. There's nothing exciting about England. There's absolutely nothing exciting about France. Absolutely nothing. I've just been disappointed by France and England. So did you give what you think will happen in both semifinals?
It's gonna be Spain spanking France, right? And Netherlands will probably beat England. The Netherlands-England game looks like it has PK written all over it. Yeah. So anybody can come out of that.
I agree.
Because of my boys that are there, Saka and the rest of them, I'll say, okay, let's give it to England. But I think it's going to be Spain, Netherlands, a repeat of the South Africa World Cup finals between Spain and Netherlands. Before you go ahead, Aki, just to wrap this up, I think the whole tournament has been disappointing. Yeah? That's the summary. The whole tournament has been disappointing. It's like some players don't really want to be there. They just, it's national. It's a tournament we have to play. It says a lot where the highest goal scorer in the tournament is own goals is it now 10 goals also or thereabout in the whole tournament. And you also have a situation where if I ask you, Aki, who's the breakout star of this tournament? Who is the new guy that we've uncovered that we'll be shouting about for the next 3-6 months? Does anybody come to mind?
Maybe Arda Güler. Maybe.
I think we knew about him before.
Maybe Arda Güler. I know. We knew it, but you're right. We knew about him before. Maybe, Mino, we knew about Mino, but again, I'm like, why are you giving Ten Hag a new contract when he had Mino all year and didn't really play him? That boy's ready, Inka. It was probably ready at 17. Aside from Saka, he was the next best player for England yesterday. It was really fantastic. There were times when it was just he and Rice in that midfield because Bellingham had gone walkabout again. But you're right. We knew Mino before. We knew Güler before. So
the tournament in general has been poor.
On Georgia.
Yeah. Tournament has been poor. It says it's not a good advert for European football. I think all the countries could have done better. But given what they've given us, I'm not excited at all. AFCON was way more exciting than this. AFCON was a ball. AFCON was fun.
It really was
boring.
And the officiating was better at AFCON. The English referees have messed this up. Other referees have been okay.
Yeah.
But no English referee has had a good game. None of them has had a good game.
None of them.
And England really needs to look at itself. Okay, Inka. So we've done the Euros. Let's move on to the Copa. So let's set the stage, right? The last time we were here 2 weeks ago, the Copa had just started. The Copa was a week behind the Euros, and there's only 16 countries, not 24 with the Euros. And then just to remind our viewers, it's the strongest teams in South America, and this time they invited, I believe, 6 teams from CONCACAF, which is North Central and the Caribbean in the Americas.
Yeah.
So the U.S., Canada, Panama, Jamaica, Costa Rica, and Mexico. Those were the 6 teams
Mexico.
from CONCACAF with 10 South American teams. Right now, so let's start from where we are and work our way backwards. So
walk backwards,
we have semifinalists, as of last night. Argentina is going to play Canada. I believe that's on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday...
Say that again. Say that again.
Uruguay,
people might not have heard you very well. Please repeat who Argentina is playing.
I didn't start it. Argentina is going to play Canada. Okay, I have a lot to say about Canada. We'll get to it. I was actually in Canada while these games were going on. And then Uruguay is going to play Colombia. Okay, Yinka, let me set the stage for this. So let's start with Uruguay and Colombia. So we actually have a Colombian in our family. You know this. So we're in the au pair program, for childcare.
Yeah.
So we have a new au pair from Colombia. Our last 2 were also from Colombia. So my family is a pseudo Colombian family. My 5-year-old is fully bilingual in English and Spanish. So since 2020, since March of 2020, we've lived with at least 1 Colombian. And there were times when we lived with 2 when they overlapped. Okay, so my family is all in on Colombia, right? And they're playing Uruguay. In my house, we will be rooting for Colombia. All right. I love me some James Rodriguez. I think he's the best player so far in this tournament. I think he has something like 3 assists right now. It's 32. What? You don't like him? Why are you making that face? What?
No, I said by far. He is the best player by far in the tournament. He's not even close.
Making a face. I was like, why are you making that face?
I was agreeing with you. He is by far the best player in this tournament.
Okay. I was like, it's been amazing. And it's so funny because when you think about it, this guy came into our consciousness 10 years ago this summer, right? In the World Cup in Brazil, right? In 2014. He was 22 years old. He was amazing, and then people went crazy. Real Madrid paid 1,000 billion trillion pounds for him off of 1 tournament, and then his body couldn't handle it. His body broke down. He was hurt all the time, was injured all the time. He went on that loan to Bayern Munich. He went to Bayern Munich, right? And he went to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
So it did okay. Champions League, won the Champions League, I think, with Bayern. I think he won the Champions League with Bayern.
He did.
Yeah, and now Yinka, guess where he plays now? Do you know where he plays now?
Sao Paulo.
He plays for Sao Paulo in Brazil. I mean, I love this guy. It's hard for me to be objective. Yeah, he plays for Sao Paulo. It's really hard for me to be objective about him. I want him to do well. I love everything about him. And then you know his connection? You know his connection to Arsenal, right?
No. What's his connection to Arsenal?
Okay, so the former Colombian Arsenal goalkeeper, David Ospina, right?
Yeah.
I think they're in-laws.
Oh, okay.
So one of them is married to the other sister,
that.
or was married. I believe that marriage did not survive. I think James was married to Ospina's
to Ospina's sister. Okay, yes, I know that.
Ospina's sister.
I didn't know the marriage did not survive.
But anyway, yeah, they were together. They were like the biggest couple in Colombia or something, and then I think they're now separated.
You are really into this Colombian soap opera. It shows that you have Colombians in your family.
Like I said, my family is Colombian, so and these are people. I think of the 3 Colombian au pairs we've had, only one is really into football like that. The first one, she was an Atlético Nacional fan. The new one too she's into the national team. I'm not sure she's that into the club.
Yeah.
And then the last one we had was not into sports at all. But she's left now. She was sending us videos of her watching the 4-0 drubbing they give Panama. But anyway, so it's been fun. Inka, we must talk about Uruguay versus Brazil. Do you want to talk about it? Were you able
Yes.
to watch it? Okay, I will let you talk
I
about
actually
it. It
started
was,
off the
yeah,
game. I started off the game, but I, the game was just, it was drab, it was boring, it was ugly. No, maybe not drab. It was ugly. I think ugly is the proper word. It
it
was
was.
more or less like
It was.
these two teams don't like each other. They were no longer playing football. They were just bullying each
They
other,
don't.
right? I did not enjoy the game. The Brazil that I know that is fleet-footed, that will dribble, that they're skillful, they look like thugs. I'm sorry, they look like absolute thugs in
Yeah.
that game. And so someone ended up having a red card, Uruguayan, towards the tail end of the game. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was in the 75th
Like
minute or
74th
thereabout.
minute. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Something like that.
So it didn't really then affect the game because I believed if they had gone into extra time, probably Brazil would have, made that count and probably they would have scored. But because of the heat wave in the US, I understand there's no extra time in those games. You go straight into penalty shootouts.
No extra time.
But
Yeah. No
I
extra
didn't
time.
enjoy
In
the
fact, I
game. It
think it's
wasn't a
because of the
technical game.
weather. I think it's because of the weather.
It was a scrappy game. It was
Yeah.
yeah, I see. Brazil
Yeah.
Uruguay, not a good game. I expected more. I expected better from Brazil. Brazil playing without a recognized striker is very, very odd, right? So they had
Yeah.
what's his name? Vinicius was on
Eldrick
suspension, right?
was
So he
suspended.
didn't play
Two
in this
yellows.
game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Then Hendrick came on, and Rodrigo was like the false nine, and I'm like, this is not
Yeah.
Brazil. The Brazilians that we know, since you've known Brazil, the only time that Brazil played without a recognized striker was in the 1970 World Cup. I'm telling you,
Mm.
that's the last time I remember Brazil, and that was because you had Pelé, you had Jairzinho, you had Tastal, you had Rivellini. These guys had goals oozing out of them from every part of their body. Yeah, you could do that, but with this current Brazilian team, I mean, he had a midfield of what's his name, Bruno Guimaraes. What's this other guy's name? Bruno Guimaraes, Gomez, Paqueta, and I'm like, this midfield is not. Come on, this is not Brazil that we know. But kudos to Uruguay. I think they were the better team, all in all, and I think they deserve to go through. But now that you said you have a Colombian in your family and you are rooting for Colombia, since I'm your family too, I'm joining you rooting for Colombia against
Thank you.
Uruguay. I'm
Thank
telling
you.
you
Thank you.
now, I'm a Colombian fan.
Oh,
I'm rooting for Colombia against Uruguay. So Colombia to make it
thank
to the
you.
final against Argentina. And when we get to the final, Argentina, Colombia, we'll just let
That would be
God take
tough.
control, and whoever wins wins, because
Yeah, I know.
we
That
all
would be
have we
tough
have
because of
a bigger
a bigger
so
rooting
you're on your
interest.
own with respect to that. Anyway, go ahead, Aki.
Okay. So you got on Brazil. Okay. Let me know. I have a lot to say about Brazil. So let's start with this. One, Ronaldinho was right. Before the tournament started, he criticized the team. He said, I don't recognize this team. Is this Brazil? And then, you know, they kind of pushed back on him and then he walked back some of the comments. Let's just recap. Brazil played 3 games in the group stages. They've played a quarterfinals. They've only won 1 game out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They haven't lost a game. So they finished with 1 win and 3 draws. And they went out via
3 draws.
PKs. When
Yeah.
Elder Militao picked up that ball, I knew he wasn't going to score. I just knew it. He didn't have confidence. I just knew he wasn't going to score. But I did not know that Brazil would miss 2 out of the first 3 penalties. That was shocking. What's also shocking to me is Allison's complete inability to be even slightly intimidating. during penalty shots. It just doesn't. He's a big dude who doesn't inspire any confidence in his teammates on PKs and doesn't intimidate. Go for it. Go for it.
Unpopular opinion, I think Alisson is the most overrated goalkeeper I've seen in a long time.
It is true.
I look at the guy,
I
right?
agree.
I've never seen the hype. Ederson is a million times better than Alisson. But I always don't understand. I don't get why he gets the starting berth for Brazil. He is not who people think he is. I saw this guy play at
No.
Roma. The day I heard Liverpool were paying whatever amount they were paying for him, I'm like, really?
65 million.
I'm like, really? He's like Raya. He's Raya level goalkeeper. He's not anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Akin.
So
Go ahead.
I absolutely agree. But they were not spending real money. They were spending Barcelona's Coutinho money. That's why they could do that. So they got VVD for 75 million and they got Alisson for 65. And it was an upgrade over what they had. And what they had was a really, really terrible goalkeeper indeed.
Absolutely.
Right? So they upgraded to a normal goalkeeper who had height, and he's a classic guy. You know, he's a good leader, right? He's a good leader. He's a classic guy. He's a good ambassador.
I agree. I totally
so
agree.
That's why
I agree with that.
But I agree with you, and I think going back to, I believe it was the World Cup of 2018. Before the World Cup of 2018, there was the debate that he and Ederson were 1A and 1B. Even back then, I hadn't seen Ederson play day in, day out because I don't think he was at Man City yet. But when I watched him for Brazil, I'm like, he's better than this guy. And up till now, I don't think Ederson is a complete goalkeeper. I don't think Ederson is a complete goalkeeper. He's a great shot stopper, but it's not a complete goalkeeper, because it doesn't communicate. It's not a talker. He doesn't organize his defense well. He's very timid. He's a very eccentric type character, right? So Brazil has like the personality in one guy and the skills in another, and for some reason they're going with the personality over the skill. They don't have one guy with both. But anyway, so that's the Brazil.
Fair point.
Yinka,
Fair point.
One more thing about Brazil. So one, just as we said about Jude Bellingham, how he needs to calm down. Mr. Vinny, you've been saying this, also needs to. He gets riled up too easily. He's too emotional. You cannot be the live wire of a mediocre Brazil team and play 3 matches and get 2 yellow cards. There is no reason for this. There is absolutely. You're not a defender. You're not a defensive midfielder. You play on the left. What's the worst thing that could happen? Someone comes down and 3 of your teammates stop him? Like, what? There is no need for these 2 yellow cards. So he cost them.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
But here's the bright side, Yinka. Here's the bright side. Neymar Jr. is coming back. Neymar Jr. is coming back. Let me finish. The one place where Neymar Jr. has never disappointed, Yinka, is with the national team. Okay? He is a legendary. All his numbers are like legendary. When I'm talking Pelé, big Ronaldo numbers, right? And he's been doing this for more than 10 years, right? It doesn't take a play off. It doesn't take a day off when he's playing for Brazil. No one on that Brazilian team cares more about playing for Brazil. He's the anti-Mbappe when he puts on that Brazilian shirt. And why does this matter, Yinka? Because it will take over from Paquetá. Paquetá is trying to play the Neymar Jr. position right now. And that's the big thing that is missing. They don't have a creative in midfield. They have hard-working-ish hacks. And that's not Brazil. That's Argentina. Argentina puts thugs around Messi. Brazil doesn't play that way.
Yeah. Short thugs. Short thugs.
So that's where I'm
bullies.
at.
Short bullies.
That's where I'm at.
So quickly before you
Brazil will be
move
fine for the
on.
World Cup. Go for it.
Quickly before you move on. the truest thing you said today is this your take on Neymar, right? It's like when he
Oh,
wears that yellow jersey, it turns into, I don't know, like a mini demon, right? And
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
he drives the whole team. He drives them, and and when you look at him at Barcelona, you look at him at PSG, you're like, why can't I see the Brazilian Neymar in the PSG Neymar or in the Barcelona Neymar, right? So I agree with you. He's he's been very, very good for Brazil, and they miss him. But now
They
here's the thing:
they
Neymar is
do.
not getting any younger, and his injury is not getting
No,
any better, right? So will
no.
he be able to come back at that same level, even though the passion is there, the drive is there?
It's a
Will his
great point.
injuries and his age let him? I think it's time for Brazil to move on from Neymar, start moving on from Neymar gradually. But to your point, move on to who? This Vinny guy?
Yeah,
This Vinny guy?
yeah.
I told you, I said, come on, are you the only black player in Spain? How come it's always you every time? There's a reason. He riles people up unnecessarily. I'm not
Yeah.
excusing racism
Yeah.
and stuff, right? But he does things that, come on, guy. It's annoying at times. Just play football. Let your football do the talking. All those antics, all those, it's too much. It's too
He's
much. Anyway,
amazing. He's amazing, right? He's amazing. But he does amazing stuff shunted to the left, right? That's a problem. That's not
yeah,
how Brazil plays. Brazil don't really. That's how Nigeria plays. Brazil doesn't really play like that. Brazil plays through the middle. No, you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, what you got if you had to define Nigerian football, what is it? Strong wing play, and not just
yeah,
we'll put one over the other. No, 7 and 11 bombing forward. That's Nigerian
yes, sir,
football.
yes, sir,
That's Nigerian football.
yeah,
That is not Brazilian football. Brazilian football, you need a creative in the middle, and right now they
yeah.
do not have one. So
They don't have one.
Paqueta is not that. Paqueta is so not that. One quick thing about Rodrigo, for me, I think he has a ton of talent. I think he lacks personality. I think Hendrick coming on will further kill Rodrigo because Rodrigo hasn't defined who he is. I think he's several years older than Hendrick, but Hendrick has personality and Hendrick is ready to be a superstar right now. And Rodrigo hides. You know what I mean? So they need a big time coach. Like if I could fix Brazil today, Yinka, I'm going to get Klopp for the World Cup. I'm like, okay, have you rested? How's your summer going? Here is 1,000 million pounds. Come and coach. I don't even know the name of Brazil's coach. It's something junior. Nobody cares. Okay, you can go home now. Give this team, bruh. It's so bad. Who is the coach I hate the most in world football?
Jose Mourinho.
Yes, Jose Mourinho. I would go get him for Brazil. He speaks Portuguese. Obviously, it's Portuguese. Because you know what? He would know what to do. You need a professional coach to come and save Brazil.
Yeah,
Again, something junior,
I
whatever
agree.
his name is not it. It's not it. This is the most consequential national team in the world. And they're messing around.
Yeah,
So go
they're
get
messing
Klopp.
around.
Because Klopp is waiting for the German job. You know this. Klopp is waiting for the German
Yeah,
job. Right? So
yeah,
don't let Germany get him first. Go and get him today. Because this would be the most talented team. As bad as Brazil is, Yinka, this would be the most talented team Klopp has ever coached. As bad as
yes.
Brazil is.
As bad as imagine, Klopp did magic with Henderson, your favorite Henderson.
You know what I'm saying? with Henderson playing actual minutes. I mean, this team is so talented. Gabriel, arguably a top 3 to top 5 center back in the APL, has not played a single minute for Brazil.
Yeah,
Because Militao is
and
there.
what's his
You know
name?
what I mean? So go and get
Marquinhos.
Klopp
Yeah,
today. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's
So
how I would fix Brazil. And then
you
you
had a
hope and
take
pray
on Canada.
that
You had a take on Canada.
Neymar.
You were going to share with
Oh
us.
yes. Oh yes, Canada.
So
So
you wanna do that
all
now?
right. So let's do that. Let's do that real quick. So this is the first time in the history of Canada that they made it out of the group in a actual
In any
tournament.
tournament.
right?
Any
Like a
tournament.
global tournament. Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. This is amazing. Like I'm really happy for them because these players are not good, Yinka. They are not good, right? Alfonso Davis is I don't think he's a world class player. He's good. He's a decent player on Bayern Munich. He's not a top 5, top 6, top 7 player on Bayern Munich, but it's good. For where it's coming from, is very good. He is by 10,000 miles the best player on Canada. It's the gap
So
between him and number
Jonathan
2.
David. Jonathan David is
No,
also
stop
not
it.
a bad player.
No. That's younger Lacazette. I would not let you do this. You will not. No, not on our podcast, Yika. You will not.
Lacazette is captaining France to the Olympics. Do you know that?
Yinka, Lacazette cannot run. Again, I will not let you do this. Lacazette in his final year with Arsenal will start a play. And then when the play finishes, it will be 15 yards behind the play while somebody else is trying to score. You saw this 100 times. Don't do this.
I did. But to your point, Canada only have two recognizable players.
Yeah.
And that's David and Davis. The names are actually similar. Yeah.
Kyle Larin is 29 now. He's a very good MLS level striker. No. Again,
but
MLS level.
He's in the Spanish league, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Larin is in the Spanish league. Yeah.
Yeah, but MLS
level. Fair point. Fair point.
I'm being a little facetious about the striker we're talking about. What's his name?
David.
I'm forgetting names. What is going on with me? Jonathan Davis. But you know what I'm really hoping for? I've heard 2 Man U fans ask me whether he's good and should Man U get them. I wish I was joking. I am not joking. And I said what I told you. Like, it's good in France. It won't translate. It will not translate. You're getting Folarin Balogun. That's what you're getting. Okay? You're getting a slightly older Folarin Balogun.
Version of Folarin Balogun, yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a fair take.
So this is what Folarin will be in 3-4 years. So if you think that's good enough for you, that's fine. It's fine. If you're playing a false 9 and you don't have a recognized striker, he will do. Yinka is like a more athletic, more mobile version of the New Zealand striker that we both cannot stand. What's the name of that guy? Woods. Christopher Woods. It's like a more athletic version of him. It's that level, but the real thing I wanted to talk about.
Let me before you move on, right? Argentina, Canada, right? They played the first game of the tournament. And that game was closer than the 2-0 scoreline will suggest. So, is there any
it was goalless at halftime.
Is there any chance that Canada might upset Argentina? And if that happens, what do you think?
Okay, let me put it this way. If Canada had a real coach, maybe. So, Jesse Marsh is the coach of Canada. He was at Leeds.
That was at Leeds United before.
He got fired and he got relegated. Yeah. He wants the US job. Okay. They asked him a simple WAEC question about what's going on. He's American. What's going on with the US team? Every other coach in the world, even Mourinho, would have said no comments. This man opened his yap and talked about how sad he was, what was going on with he wants the US job, right? They wants the US job. But it's so inappropriate. It's such an inappropriate communicator, right?
Yeah.
But he's feeling himself a lot right now because of his success with Canada. He's really feeling himself. I think Argentina will beat Canada like a drum. I think Argentina will beat Canada like Canada owes them money. Let me see. Can I find a third metaphor for how Argentina will beat Canada?
You can switch to Yoruba and find a better one.
No, so so I think it was goalless at halftime. it was 2-0 at full time. And you and I talked about this on 2 episodes ago. Oh, well, the last one didn't record, so last episode.
Yeah.
That it really could have been 8. And we were not exaggerating. It really could have been 8. I think if it went to penalties, it will be Argentina. It might be like 5-2 or 4-2 penalties. But they're well coached, all joking aside. Jesse Marsh knows what he's doing. They keep it tight. Messi aged significantly over the past 18 months. He does not look good. This is my favorite player to ever live. He does not look good. Yinka, I told you about my take on Messi at the World Cup. He was by far the best player, but it was a shadow of himself, and nobody said anything. Messi, like I said, Messi was pinging 35-yard passes because he couldn't run. Messi could not run in Qatar. It was always behind the plate, and it's worse now. And he's no longer playing in a competitive league. I'm sorry, MLS. Messi is a shell of himself. Messi is dead, And now, you're looking at guys around him who are not good. Enzo Fernandez, he can't even play 90 minutes with this team anymore. Rodrigo De Paul is hacking people more than he was hacking people before. Name all of them. At the World Cup, it was really Messi and Martinez, the goalkeeper. Now, Lautaro Martinez is actually playing well in this tournament. Alvarez was young in Qatar, is better now. So maybe that can save them. But Messi is not good, bro. So I think that gives Canada a shot. If I'm being honest, I think it will be a tight one. I think 3-1 Canada. 3-1 Argentina. And if lightning strikes, it goes to penalties, and Canada loses by penalties.
So Argentina-Colombia final, and we'll take it from there. We'll see who wins. But from the beginning, I always said it seems as if it's going to be Argentina's tournament. But overall perspective on the tournament too, Akin, the tournament has been poor also. I'm sorry. I don't know which one is even worse, whether it's the Euros or the Copa, but I think the Copa has been worse.
So, Yinka, the worst. Yeah, the Copa has been worse. The worst refereeing I've ever seen at a tournament.
Was the US game.
I've seen worse in leagues. Thank you. US Uruguay. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was really,
it was bad.
I was texting with some of my friends and I'm like, which was the worst decision? This was after the first half. And we all agreed the worst decision was when the referee blew a foul for the US and then saw a US player was playing on and he just completely played on. I'm like, how is this possible? You just blew a foul. And then you go, ooh, play on. It was like he had never seen a rule book before. It was so embarrassing. Because Uruguay, I think Uruguay was practicing on the US, the tactics they would use on Brazil. So they fouled the US on every play, and then they went against Brazil and fouled them on every play. It was really shocking.
Talking about the US, US Panama was what killed the US altogether. They lost to Panama 2-1, which they shouldn't have. His name. Former Liberian president's son.
Yeah, Tim Ware.
Tim Ware had a brain fart and he got himself sent off, which was you don't do that, yeah. And I know there's a gap between the US and Panama in terms of skills, but you can't play 10 men against. Some might even argue that even despite the the disadvantage, that US should still probably have beaten Panama, yeah, but they just couldn't pull it out. They lost to Panama, and beating Uruguay was just I knew it wasn't going to happen. Despite the fact that the ref was poor, right? Uruguay and the US are not the same level. Uruguay is a better team than the US. So Tim Ware, I know he's young. Absolutely. I know he felt bad about the whole thing, but you don't do that. You don't do that at all. Yeah. Anyway, I think Aki, we've done enough justice to Copa. Where are we heading to next?
All right, Yinka. Worthy mention.
Yes, sir.
And I can't wait. So, Yinka, we did most of this last week, and then lost our recording. So we're gonna do it again.
We did.
So, Yinka, pretend that you and I have not talked about the draft, the NBA draft, and let's do it fresh, and let's start all
Yeah.
over. And talked about, did anything happen at the draft, Yinka, that is worthy of talking
Nothing
about?
until the next day, right? When everybody had forgotten about the whole draft. Then the deputy, not even the president, not Adam Silver, his deputy came up to the podium and said, with the 55th pick, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James Jr., right? And we're like, duh, didn't we all know this, right? So Bronny was drafted by LA before a day before on the main day of the draft. We heard news, or it broke, that they were telling Bronny's camp, Clutch Sports, his agency, were telling teams not to draft him. That if they drafted him, he would go to Australia, right? Um, which I found a bit odd, but I'm sure you have an interesting take around that, so I'll let you deal with that. But my point is just, after that, there was a significant uproar, and people kept on shouting, hey, nepotism, even on the USC team, that Bronny averaged 4 points, like Charles Barkley would call it, a triple single, you know? Then he averaged a triple single. He had 4 points, two rebounds, or one ridiculous stat line. And there were better players on USC that were not
Yeah,
drafted. And people were like, he only got drafted because his
yeah,
father is LeBron James. And I'm like, so what?
yeah.
Right? This is not the first time that stuff
Mhm.
like this will happen in sports. Nepotism didn't start with LeBron James. It's not going to end with LeBron James. Y'all deal with it. Yeah?
Hmm.
We know the Atento brothers, right? Someone even says Seth Curry is not good enough for the NBA. They only have him because of his brother. Damian Lillard had his cousin on the Trailblazers, Portland Trailblazers team. Who else? Well, Austin Rivers is an NBA level player, but Austin Rivers got some questionable deals while his father was playing for the LA Clippers. Yeah. So it's not new. Okay. So people should live with it. Akin, your take. Let me let you run with this. What do you think about this?
I'm trying to keep a straight face while you run through all this, but it's really hard for me. Okay, so Yinka, you know, I dabble in a bunch of ventures. In
Yeah.
addition to this little old podcast of ours, I have other things
Yep.
I dabble in. Um, and one of our mutual friends asked me once how I do it all, right? And I think what I
Mm.
said was I always do stuff with people I trust. That's the number one thing. But
Yeah.
one day I thought to myself, and I'm like, oh, everyone I'm in some kind of venture with, I've pretty much known all my life. Yinka, when
Yeah.
you and I met, we were both 10 years old, right? That
Yep.
that's that's how long we've known each other. You right? And then when I
Yeah.
think about all the other people I'm doing stuff with, they're either like extended family or people I've known since I was 5, 6, 7, 10 years old. So I say all that to say I understand doing things with people you love, right?
Mm.
And you're right. There's nepotism even in sports, right? So if you look at U.S. college sports, every
Mm-hmm.
legendary um, coach that ever
Coach,
lived has put, yeah, put
there's
coach,
their
coach, they put
offspring.
their son who can't play. Who can't play, Yinka? So the latest one is Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo with Michigan State. When his son was finishing up his senior year, he finally got garbage minutes at the end of their last game. Okay. This boy is gonna go into coaching, and somebody is gonna describe him as a genius in his second year of coaching. I mean, it's the same thing. We see it all the time.
It's written.
Um, what's his name? The legend from Syracuse who coached Mello. Who coached Mello? What's his name? Boeheim, Jim Boeheim. Jim had
Yeah.
kids later in his life. Jim is an old man. And then Jim
Mm-hmm.
had a kid that was young enough, even though he was like 89 years old or whatever, who was young enough to be in college. Jim put his son on the team. Son wasn't no superstar. He was better than Izzo's son. He could actually play a little bit, but he put him on. So that's one level of nepotism. The most rampant, the most common level, Yinka, is coach brings son on to be coach. That one happens all the time because there's no physical requirement. There's no physical skill requirement to be coach. Someone just has to teach you. And who are you more likely to teach? Your own blood, you know what I mean, than someone from the outside. And then your kid eats forever, right? And now you see it with that. Now they have like a bloodline in the NFL, a bloodline in the NBA. So what really bothers people, Yinka? So let me make this very US centric. Is for years only white people could do this. That's really what this is about, right? So you look at the NFL and you have bloodlines, white bloodlines in the NFL. You don't really have black bloodlines yet because they just started, allowing black people to coach in the NFL like 2 days ago, right? So that's the real issue. But the nepotism has already entered, the NBA on the black side of things, right? Wes Unseld Jr., right? So you now have sons of black men who are now second generation coaches. That's happening in the NBA. We don't yet see it in the NFL, but it's coming. It's coming, right? So all of this is happening because with coaching, everything is subjective. You're good if the people making decisions think you're good. Let's take it up another level. Front office. There is no real definition for what's good in front office. That's how you can have Joe Dumars win Executive of the Year, I believe, twice. And then his last 5 years in Detroit, they didn't know what they were doing.
It's been crap.
You know what I mean?
It's
that
been
happens
horrible
all the time. That's where you have probably, probably the most nepotism. Someone just puts their son as scout and then they move up and then eventually 15 years later they're GM and everybody says they're GMs. Again, in America, this is very racial. It hasn't really happened that much for black people, but we're coming up. And then finally, owners, of course. I don't call that nepotism because if my daddy owns something, I own something, damn it. That's how it goes, So the problem is you don't see it that much in playing. You don't, right? You don't. So LeBron did something no one else has been able to do. One, it was excellent enough. Yinka, do you think LeBron is a top 10 player in the NBA still? Because I do. What do you think?
Yeah, I do. I agree. He is. Okay. Definitely.
He may be top 7. He may comfortably be top 7 right now, still.
Yeah. He averaged 26, 7, 7
I don't think
last
it's top
year.
5. Yeah.
So he's still a decent player. Yeah, he might not be top 5.
I don't think it's top 5, but it's comfortably. Okay. So let me tell you what I would have done. Okay. Carter calling everybody and saying, if you draft him, he's going to go to Australia. I would have called his bluff if he was good. Okay, I would have drafted him if he was good. The problem is he's not good, Yinka. He's not good. So let's talk about all the many ways you can show potential as an NBA prospect. You can be very tall. He's not. Is rumored to be 6'2". He's a small 6'2". It doesn't look big at all. They praise this defensive instinct, Yinka. You can't guard anybody when you're 6'1", 6'2" in the NBA. I'm sorry. You can't guard anybody. You show me a 6'1" defensive stopper. You can go back 40 years. I'll wait. We got plenty of time. There is none. You'll be out there playing the passing lanes like Allen Iverson. That's probably the best you're going to do, right? Chris Paul in his prime was a really good defender. But Chris Paul is also a really big guy. He's not tall, but he's really big. He had the body, right? And an extremely intelligent player and way better player than what's his face. Okay. If you're 6'1", you've got to be able to run points. No one has ever told us that Bronny is a point guard. Okay? So let's recap. Not tall. He's athletic for his size. He is athletic. but not tall, not a great playmaker, not a great defender, not an accomplished scorer, not an accomplished shooter. All in all, he's a jag, Yinka. What's a jag? It's just a guy. That's a jag. So that's my take on this. Congrats to LeBron. Congrats to Bronny. Two things I find a little uncomfortable is they set up this old draft night thing at a restaurant in New York. The man was all suited up and kitted up like he was about to do something. You're 55th overall pick. Why are you wearing the hat and all of that? I was a little, And then you show up to your first press conference in sweats. So I'm like, so you dress up for this nonsense to be a 55th overall pick, but you can't dress up for your first press conference? Like, what are we doing? So that's one. At that press conference, Mr. JJ Redick, the beneficiary of nepotism, being the friend and podcast partner of one LeBron James, grabs the mic and says, "Let me correct you, Mr. Journalist. Nobody gave Bronny anything. Bronny earned it all." I'm like, if you don't shut your face and get the F out of here with this nonsense. What do you mean he earned? What did he earn? Like, just stop. He averaged 4.8 points a game at USC. Come on, man. Like, like they say, don't piss on my head and call it rain. That is crazy. It's ridiculous.
Maybe you and I should revisit the terms of this our podcast, whatever. Because what have you done for me lately? LeBron just got.
I haven't given you a better job. You know what I mean? I haven't given you no money.
LeBron just got his podcast. I'm not even sure they've lasted 5 episodes. How many episodes did they do before he got him a job? And we are now on 20-something. I'm still here looking for...
I'm not even sure because oh my gosh.
They didn't last
That's
5
crazy.
episodes, and they asked him when he on his press conference. Crazy. They said, "So what's going to happen to your podcast?" And he said he's no longer podcasting. That's what he said. Because, like I told you 2 episodes, our last episode, it would have been ridiculous if he was still podcasting and they lose and the 2 of them get into the podcast and the 2 of them are like, angry with each other and they're going, that would have been odd and ridiculous, but it is what it is. So, Akin, let's move on. So where do we head on to next? Can we quickly talk about transfers in Europe?
All right. So, Yinka, there was a little talked about transfer deadline, made up transfer deadline in European football. It's really in the EPL, the PSR deadline of June 30th.
Yeah.
This used to be just an accounting thing, but now with the EPL getting tough, everyone's taking it seriously. So June 30th was a mad rush for teams to get compliant so they don't get docked points. Newcastle in particular, Yinka, were in some kind of trouble. Chelsea may or may not have been in trouble, but there was some self-dealing going on. They're selling hotels to themselves and, So Yinka, what happened? Aston Villa, Chelsea, Newcastle, wrap it up for us.
So, very good, Aki. The Ineos chairman said the other day that we now have more accountants than we have football people. So, just to recap quickly, guys, what has happened is, I've told you guys this before. So, if you buy a player, you are allowed to amortize the cost, the acquisition of the player over the duration of the contract. If you sell a player, you can take the whole profits in 1 year. So this has led to a situation where we have some clubs that are in the risk of violating the PSR rules. And I think what has happened is Chelsea or Villa, they've called each other to say, dude, let's help ourselves now. Let me sell you one teenager, you sell me one teenager at inflated cost, right? Mind you, they are not even swapping, because if they had done a swap, then that fair valuation that we talked about a couple of episodes ago from an accounting standpoint, and don't ask me, this is a technical accounting thing, right? If you do a swap, they will need to fair value what you're swapping. Yeah? So the easiest way to avoid a swap is to make it 2 separate transactions. I've sold Akin to you. you have sold Yinka to me.
Mm-hmm.
Akin might be worth one pound, but I'm selling Akin to you at £2,000. Same thing, Yinka might be worth £5, but I'm selling it to you at £5,000. All because I want to fix my accounting issues, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with this, frankly.
Mm-mm.
There isn't anything wrong with this. I heard the EPL is looking at some of these transactions, but I'm like, guys, you can't do anything. Just let it be. Yeah? If the clubs want to do this, let them do this. They will get caught up in the future, right? You can't continue to sell teenagers at at 20, 35 million pounds, right? These are fictitious costs. We all know. But in this case, the buying club is fair value. Do you understand? The blind club is demonstrating fair value. So just let it slide. Don't need to don't sweat this. Just let it be. It will catch up with people in the future, if you get what I mean. So I thought those transfers were a bit shady, right? But we'll see. But we'll see how it goes. There's also been rumors, from Man United that they're trying to buy some Dutch players again. They liked from Bayern, Zexi, another Dutch player from Bologna. And I'm like, okay, let's see. I don't think that's what Bayern need. I mean, that's what Man United need. But who am I? Who am I to complain? Akin, is there any other transfer that caught your eye or any rumor that caught your eye that you're interested in talking about before we move on?
Yeah, so I don't want to rehash the ones we've already talked about with Villa
Yeah.
and Everton and Chelsea, but I do have a pushback because I've been thinking about this. 3 or so years ago, Liverpool sold a guy who had never really played for them for like almost 30 million, right? Everyone applauded them and Liverpool sells well. They sell all these kids very well, blah, blah, blah. I believe they sold to Sheffield United. I think he played a handful of games for them and then he disappeared. I haven't heard from him. I don't even remember his name. And people will beat up, well, we're Arsenal fans, so Arsenal fans will beat up Arsenal. Why can't you be like Liverpool and sell these little known players for a gazillion pounds? And then last summer, City sold Cole Palmer, who had made a couple starts for them, I think, for 45 million pounds.
Yeah.
And if we were, around this time last year, everybody was like, why? What's going on? And again, it was, all kudos to the City front office. They know how to sell. They sell these little known players, blah, 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 blah. So is there a part of this where Newcastle have sold a player they didn't want to part with? Villa have done the same. These are well-regarded youth players. Should we wait and see if they are real players before we condemn these transactions as just financial transactions? Are we looking at this wrong? I guess is my point.
No, so okay, good point. But even if you look at the Cole Palmer transaction, right? Didn't you think City actually cheated Chelsea at that 45 million?
So when Cole Palmer went over to Chelsea, I had seen him play 3 times.
Yes.
Every time I saw him play, I'm like, this guy is fantastic. And you know me,
yes.
I'm a sucker for movement. I'm like, I don't care if he scores or not. Because I feel like your brain tells you how to move on a football field. So when I see a player's movement, I equate it to intelligence. That's how I analyze football. That's me personally. So I thought it was an extremely intelligent player. Did I see 26 goals and 15 assists in his first season, even though half of them are penalties? Did I see that? No. Did I see 13 goals and 8 assists in his first season? No. I'm not going to come here and lie. Okay? If he had scored 7 times and assisted 5 times, I would have said in his first year, I would have said the 45 million was justified because I already had an extremely high opinion of the kid. But that's me. Most people had never heard of him. Most people had never seen him play. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was any Chelsea fan that thought he was going to be their most important player in a season where they had Fernandes.
Chelsea were just doing their normal business of buying small kids and spreading it over 6 years.
Why are you doing this?
No. But they also didn't expect this. You thought they expected this? That's 1 out of it, like 20 that they bought, and you want to give them credit for seeing the future?
First time,
Hell no.
For the first time in my adult life, I want to be fair to Chelsea.
No,
I want to be fair to
no.
Chelsea and say some brilliance came out of Chelsea.
At that point, City were like, this is free 45 million to my PSR, right?
I know,
Cole Palmer, 45
I know.
million. Bye bye. Pack your loads, go. That's what happened.
We talked about it when it happened. We're like, do you want to sell Cole Palmer? Like, we're like, are you sure?
Exactly. They
I'm like, are
did.
you sure?
Cole Palmer is like the Phil Foden like 5 years ago
Yeah.
to City. Guardiola
Yeah,
was willing to nurture him
yeah,
into. So City was forced to sell. It was just like they were like, we need 45 million to balance our books. Who
yeah.
can we sell for 45 million? And Chelsea were, quote and unquote, we can't say foolish now because it's turned out good. They were
It's turned
willing
out
to pay
great.
45 million for Cole Palmer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly what happened. And they
yeah.
paid ridiculous amounts for worse players. They paid
That's true.
105 million for Caicedo.
Yeah,
You
that's
see
what I
my
was trying
point?
to remember. Yeah, I know, you're right. You're right. So,
You see
Caicedo
my
has been
point?
okay for Ecuador in this Copa America. So at least I
But
was glad to see that there was life in him.
no, but Akin, once again, he's in an environment that is comfortable in.
Yeah,
He's in
I
a
know.
comfortable
I know. I
environment,
know.
in a
I
team
know.
that he knows.
I know.
Anyway, so we'll still be on the lookout for all these
Yeah.
transfers. And we will probably have a segment where we'll talk about rumors next week. Akin, I think we should do that. Just talk about the
Yeah.
rumors and things that are about to happen and just give our take on whether it will be a good acquisition or a bad one. Okay?
Yeah. One quick transfer. Arsenal sold what's the guy's name? Mikhail Beref? How do you say his
Berith,
name?
yeah?
Beref,
Berith,
yeah.
yeah.
To Stormgrass in Austria.
Yeah.
He had gone
Mm-hmm.
there on loan and he had done well, and now they want him on a permanent. And I think it was £4 million with some additives and a
Yeah.
sell on. So
Yeah.
this is kind of what I'm talking about. Some not so smart Arsenal players actually thought this guy could have a future as a number 9 for Arsenal. And I'm like, if you're going for £4 million to Austria and nobody's fighting for your signature, and they've seen
Yeah.
you play for at least 2 years, you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be the next Erling Haaland. So, I mean, people
Yeah.
need to just stop. I
People
mean,
need to
Folarin
chill.
Balogun went for £25 million. There was no mid-level club in France, fighting for Biret's signature. So, come on, people,
Yeah.
we sound ridiculous sometimes, Arsenal fans.
So, Akin, one more thing. While
Yeah.
you're on Arsenal, just briefly,
Yeah.
there is rumor, and this rumor is beginning to gather storm, that Arsenal have an agreement with a German international, but we don't know who it is.
Joshua Kimmich, obviously.
You think
yeah.
it's Kimmich?
Oh yeah, Arteta he's an Arteta player.
I think it's Leroy Sané.
I would love him to. The injuries are a problem for me, but we don't have anyone like him. We don't have anyone like him because I think
Kimmich
yeah,
Kimmich is on his salary is just too high.
but
Bayern?
we paid a German. We paid a German the most we've ever paid anybody in our history. Kai Havertz is the highest paid, and we paid 65
Arsenal
million
player.
for him.
Yeah.
So, and I think Kimmich is a better player than Kai Havertz. Is a better
I
leader.
totally agree. Is it
but-
better everything then? Yeah.
But if we're talking about Sané though, Sané reminds me a lot of Saka, even though they look nothing alike in their game. But
Yeah.
where I would say he's ahead of Saka right now is he has the confidence to drift inside. I would love to see Saka do that. Just drift inside and cause some havoc. Because remember, there was a time like 2 years ago that we all thought Saka would end up as a number 10.
Yep.
We were thinking about that. Now it's not happening.
Yeah.
So I think Saka is just the kind of guy that he can be whatever you want him to be. Left back, right wing back. You put him at right wing, it will be one of the best in the world. Maybe so. Saka is not the most athletic player you've ever seen. Is athletic without being the most athletic. Is quick without being the quickest. Is fast without being the fastest. Like, he's not gonna beat the fastest defenders in a foot race. He's not gonna beat but is intelligent. That's his superpower. He's intelligent and is tenacious. Is not the strongest, but he's extremely strong. So when you're like a 7 to 8.5 out of 10 in everything, you can become a world-class player. So I think that's really what Saka is.
And remember also, Sané actually blossomed at City
It did.
because of Arteta.
Yeah, it's very true.
Because
They've given
I've
him
seen the
credit.
interview where he said whatever happened to me at City, it was thanks to Mikel Arteta, blah blah blah. So I actually think it's Leroy Sané. But we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll see what happens.
Yinka, I hope you're right. The two players I would like to see in that mold, Kingsley Coman, he needs to leave Bayern. And what better place to come than Arsenal? Because those are the kinds of players we don't have. Coman will be Martinelli on the right, because he plays almost exactly like Martinelli, and Sane, we don't have anyone who plays like him. Saka is the closest. But like I said, Saka doesn't cut in enough. And guys who just shoot from the outside without thinking. We don't have those kinds of players.
We don't have those kind of players, yeah. Anyway, all right. So, Akin, where are we going to next? A quick trip to the W before we call it wraps?
Let's do that. So, when you heard me typing, you know what I was typing, what I was looking for? I was looking for the latest.
Your junior sister.
The latest in All Star Voting. So, I just wanted to know. So, Yinka, the All Star game is coming up for the WNBA. This would not shock you. But Caitlin Clark is number 1. Guess who's number 2, Yinka?
Angel Reese?
No. Aliyah Boston is number 2. Caitlin Clark's teammate is number 2.
No, so that's a what do we call it? Running mate. That's a running mate.
Running mate. Running mate
vote in Nigeria.
Yeah, and then Asia Wilson was number 3. Let me look at the latest.
She should be number 1.
I know, but that's not how it goes, right? That's not how it goes. So and then Angel Reese was number 5. But the last time I checked, she had almost 400,000 votes. So it's been amazing, and it's almost like the number of votes. I don't want to give wrong information, but we've gone from maybe a couple 100,000 to close to 1 million for the number 1 player. It's really, it's just insane what's going on. It's insane. Yeah, it's
but
really
it's good.
Insane.
I like it.
Yeah.
Right. So the games, everybody's following Caitlin all over the place right now. And to be fair to the young lady, she's beginning to deliver. She recorded first. She had a triple-double last game against the. That was New York, right? They played New York, wasn't it?
They played New York last night. Yeah, they played New York last night.
Yeah. She had a triple-double, and that's the first time a rookie will have a triple-double in the game. But I saw the highlights, and she had a triple-double, but she didn't really play that well. I can put it that way. She faded kind of in the third and the fourth quarter, and then Aliyah Boston kind of, took over and did her thing. But overall, she's doing very well. Like we said, unfortunately, Cameron Brink, she had a knee injury. She's out for the season. She tore her ACL. But Rikia Jackson has been playing well for the Sparks. Sparks beat Aces two nights ago. I saw that one. Rikia is playing very well, but she's not gonna get. I mean, the what do you call it? The front runners, or how do you call it? The main event in the WNBA right now is Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. So even if there is any other rookie that is, doing well, I feel bad for Camila Cardoso, kind of. She's been
relegated to also
relegated completely. Completely, and it goes back to what we talked about, Angel Reese. She plays with passion, tenacity, right? And people can actually look at her and be like, wow, I like that about her. So it's good for the WNBA. And Chicago Sky, Kennedy Carter, the point guard, all of a sudden, she's a Johnny woman. She's been a Johnny woman in the WNBA, but I think she's beginning to find her feet. With the Sky, she's a baller. She is a baller, right? And whatever Angel Reese is doing, you give her 50% of the credit. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because that connection, that tandem is beginning to reap fruits, and I like the way she's playing. But it's all good. It's all good.
So as Angel Reese might say, she has that dog in her. She has that dog in her. So before we wrap up, let's give a little more detail about what the All Star Game is and how it's different this year. So normally
Yeah.
it's East versus West or whatever. This year is different because we have the Olympics coming up at the end of this month. So this is one thing I think the WNBA has done pretty well, which is they're actually going WNBA All Stars versus the Olympic team, the US Olympic team, right? Which makes it
Yeah.
very interesting because some of the best players in the WNBA are on the Olympic team, right?
Absolutely.
So first, let's talk about, because the voting is over. So let's talk about who got the most votes. The top 5 vote getters from the fans. So the fans contribute 50% of the voting, right? And then 25% from the WNBA players and 25% from the media. Okay. So Caitlin Clark, 700,735. Aaliyah Boston, 618,680. Asia Wilson, 607,300.
Wow.
So it's pretty close between Aaliyah and Asia, and not that far off. She's only 93,000 from Caitlin Clark. Brianna Stewart, 424,000. That's a steep drop from Asia Wilson.
That's a drop.
Yeah, and then Angel Reese, 381,518. For me, this is amazing. I don't know what the numbers used to look like before, but I don't think they were approaching 1 million. This is really, really amazing. I love to see it.
Yeah.
The other top 10, the NBA, the WNBA doesn't tell us in any particular order, so the list I have is in alphabetical order. So the others, Clark, Nafisa Collier, Kalia
Cooper.
Yeah. Derica Hamby, Sabrina Ionescu, Arike Ogunbowale, Stewart, we already mentioned Asia Wilson and Jackie Young. So what they do is they look at the top 10 and then they say if you're not already on the Olympic roster, then you're automatically on the All-Star team. So because of that,
I see.
Aaliyah Boston, Hamby, and Ogunbowale, they go into Team WNBA for the game because they're not on the Olympic team, and they hit the top 10 in voting. This is actually, I think the WNBA was very thoughtful in how they did this.
Yeah.
So once they did that, then the remaining 6 spots on Team WNBA were now filled out by the head coaches.
By the coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had a pool of the next 36 highest vote getters. Some players who didn't make the cut, we just talked about her. Camila Cardoso did not make the cut from that pool. Skylar Diggins-Smith did not make the cut. But if one of the players selected for the WNBA team is unable to play, then the commissioner would name a replacement. So
is Nneka there? Ogumike?
Yeah, Nneka is on there. So Nneka. So let me just tell everyone the Team WNBA roster. Dewana Bonner made it. Aaliyah Boston made it. Caitlin Clark. Alicia Gray. Derica Hamby. Brianna Jones. Jonquel Jones. Kayla McBride. Kelsey Mitchell. Arike Ogunbowale. Nneka Ogumike. And Angel Reese.
Okay, Plum is on the Olympic team already.
Yes. Oh, Plum also had a big night a week ago. I think she dropped, was it 28 points? I can't remember who they were
playing.
Something
along those lines.
Yeah. You know what always amazed me, Yinka, is when every time I think about Kelsey Plum, you know how everyone was talking about Caitlin Clark broke the Pete Maravich's scoring record?
Yeah.
This is my problem with ESPN and all these media outlets. I'm like, you're going for almost like cheap laughs for a comedian. Instead of you to say she broke a woman's record, you have to say she broke a man's record. In that process, you know what you do, Yinka? You erase the woman who had that record. Kelsey Plum was the number one record scorer.
Exactly.
How about I didn't know that until a month ago?
Are you serious?
And I followed this thing closely. I did not know that until a month ago. I didn't know.
Wow, she was.
I didn't know.
When she was coming into the NBA, she was being compared with James Harden, right? Left-handed, plays like Harden, step back 3, and I like her. She's tough.
Yeah.
She's very tough.
Yeah.
One other player that I think deserves worthy mention is Derek Hamby.
Yeah.
Derek Hamby has 2 kids. Derek Hamby is the only reason why LA is slightly okay this year, right? She is on fire. She has the highest number of double doubles in the WNBA this season. She is on fire, and she's a mom of 2. If you know the story very well, guys can go check it out. She was with Aces, where Aces kind of discriminated against her because she was pregnant,
Yeah.
and she felt bad about it, and she came to Sparks. She's on the 3x3
For the Olympics.
Olympic
Yeah.
team. She's
Yeah.
replacing Cameron Brink in there. Kudos to her. She's doing fantastically well. Yeah.
So this thing about this is really great. So let me give you an example. Yinka, young people, Gen Z, if you will, talk all the time about mental health. And then when you meet them one-on-one and you see the ones that actually need mental health help, they don't seek it. It's the craziest thing to me, right? Why am I bringing this up? How is this relevant to what you just said? The WNBA talk a great game about, being all for women and protecting women. We now have 2 examples where a woman who has had a child or who is pregnant is saying, you're not protecting me. You just talked about Hamby, and then Skylar Diggins was another one where they won't let her come into the facility while she was pregnant because of liability issues. So again, every time casuals compare the WNBA to the NBA, stop doing it. They're not the same sport. Men in the NBA don't get pregnant. They don't have to deal with this stuff. This is blowing. I'm like, can we be a little more intelligent than this?
Yeah.
Yes, they shoot a ball into a hoop. That's where the difference is. Sorry, that's where the similarities end.
That's where the similarities end.
Yeah. So, just physiologically, it's so different. Even sociological, issues are different. Men don't get pregnant. Women play with pregnancy.
Yep.
Take time off.
Serena played a whole tournament. She was pregnant.
She won a Grand Slam.
She won a Grand Slam while pregnant.
So it's not the same. I feel like we don't show enough respect to, and maybe the women don't show enough respect to the women's game because they want to be men so badly. No, I don't want the WNBA to just be another version of the NBA. No, I watch it because it's different. I watch it because it's unique. So I wish the people who ran it will, kind of celebrate how it's different.
Exactly. Institutionalize this kind of things that will support, your diversity, why you're different. Because when I heard the Hamby and the Skylar situation, I was like, what? This is bad.
Yeah.
It's bad optics. It's showing that you don't really care about people. It's just bad.
Yeah.
It's just bad.
At best, you don't understand. Even if you do care, at best, you don't understand. And maybe the liability thing is real. Maybe it's real, but you shouldn't let it get out. You shouldn't let the press get wind of it. And if Skylar Diggins, who in popular culture in America is very well known, you don't leave her being unhappy with you such that someone puts a microphone in her face. She's gonna say something like, "Come on!" Like I keep telling you, the people who run the WNBA do not care about this women. They don't care about them. They really don't. I've been saying that. I've been consistent about this. They don't. They will watch this league destroy itself. They don't know how to handle this Caitlin Clark thing. They don't know what to do with it. And I told you, this is what's going to happen. They really don't care about these women.
Anyway, we'll see how it goes, Aki. Let's wrap this up. I had a donkey of the week in the version that we recorded that we lost. So, Aki, should I still go ahead and give my donkey?
You can just announce who it is.
I just announced it. So it was Tim Ware for his brain fart against Panama that cost US their slot in the knockout phase of Copa America.
Yeah.
So Tim, don't do that again. Let's keep it simple.
Oh my gosh.
All right, guys, that is our session for this week. I hope we're able to piece everything together. I promise we'll get better from a technological standpoint. Akin, thanks again. Guys, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. I think we hit 20,000 or 21,000 views during the
A
week
week
or
ago.
so.
Yeah.
A week ago. So thanks, everyone. Baby steps. We know where we want to get to, and we'll get there one day. One day. We will get there. Thanks. Please subscribe, like, share, tell your friends about us. And we requested for questions. A couple came in, but we'll look at them. And next week we'll take them on the show and we'll respond to your questions. Akin, final words?
So a couple of things. Thank you for the questions. I will make my appeal again. We have over 1,000 IG followers, but
Yep.
we have less than 300 YouTube subscribers. For better or worse, at this point in our fledgling podcast careers,
Podcasting career.
we are on YouTube. All right. So please, if you follow us on IG, if you follow us on Facebook, please also go to YouTube and subscribe.
And
Hit the notification button. So when we release something on YouTube, you get a notification. Help us build our presence on that platform. Our plan is for those who just listen to podcasts, we'll try to get all these episodes onto Apple, onto Spotify. We have a critical mass now. This is, is this our 21st episode?
Yeah,
this is our 21st
this is
episode.
20. That's 21st. Plus 22, but it's 21.
Yeah, it's 21. So now that we have all these episodes, we can now go to Apple and put it on there, so you can just listen. You can do the same on Spotify. So we hope to do that. Maybe we'll say over the next month. But for now, we are on YouTube. So help us if you follow us on any of our social media platforms. Please go subscribe on YouTube as well. And that's all we have for this week. Thank you, Yinka. And we'll see you all.
Thanks, people.
Soon.
Congratulations, Outbreak Sports.
Yes. Yinka, give me my shirt.
Don't worry. It's waiting for you. It is waiting for you.
All right, guys. Everybody. Appreciate it. Bye.